Good afternoon, students. It's time for me to touch base with you once again as we reach the midway point in your Nurse 499 capstone course. You'll note as we move forward into the week ahead that you'll have your first forum discussion due. In this forum discussion, you're going to provide an overview of your project and your population that you're working with. And you're also going to discuss how you're gathering data, how you're gathering information to inform your project, and how you're summarizing, collating, evaluating the data that you're gathering for your project. So not all of you are using a formal survey or instrument to gather data, so that means you're going to have to be a little bit creative in terms of how you discuss or think about the types of information that you're gathering. But regardless of your project, you all are gathering information or data in various forms, and you're using that to guide and inform your project. For example, some of you may have done a Google search to look for policies at different healthcare organizations within the state of Oregon, and you looked at 5 different organizations and were able to retrieve 3 policies. So you would report, that's exactly what you would report, is that you Googled 5 different agencies in Oregon and you retrieved 3 policies from these organizations. Some of you may have gathered information about patient teaching about a particular topic, and you went to your agency and you gathered all of their information on diets or on diabetes or on hypertension, whatever your project is, and you reviewed all that patient teaching information and you analyzed it somehow in terms of what was missing, what needed to be improved, how it needed to be changed. So again, if you're not using a formal survey or instrument to gather data, you're going to have to be a little bit creative in terms of how you think about the data that you've gathered and how you're using that to inform your project. And I've just given you a couple of examples about how you might think about that. So this correlates, if you think about the research process, this correlates to data gathering and data analysis. And as you recall, and I think I've said this before, the whole premise of your health teaching project or your health project that you're doing for this course models the research process in terms of identifying a project, a topic, in terms of going to the literature, looking at the background, looking at gaps in what we know about your health project. And now you're moving on to the next stage, which is gathering data and analyzing that data. And then as we move forward, you're going to implement your project and then you're going to evaluate it. So important to know that you're following the research process in terms of completing this project. The other thing that we have coming up in this course is your midterm self-evaluation. And that self-evaluation form is in TaskStream, and I actually have it up here on my screen. I wanted to show you an example of that. And the way your midterm self-evaluation is going to work is you're going to rate yourself about how well you've fulfilled each of our RN to BSN end of program objectives. And you're going to use a Likert scale, a 1 to 5 Likert scale, to think about how well you've met the objective. And in my example here, we're looking at program objective number 2 that talks about leadership. And in this example, I've given 3. And that means I've met the program objective. And the ways that I've met the program objective is that I've assumed leadership for identifying a project liaison, developing a project aimed at developing a nursing policy to address nurse and patient safety precautions. And then the other example that I've provided in the narrative text box here is that I've worked collaboratively with infection control to identify costs associated with personal protective equipment. So think about those leadership principles and what knowledge you have about what it means to be a leader or to lead, and think about some exemplars of what you have done to demonstrate leadership as it relates to your health topic. Some of you are not going to have any opportunity to meet all of the program objectives at the midway point, and that's fine. That's totally understandable. So if you feel like you've not had an opportunity or you don't have any examples of the way that you've met one program objective, simply choose the NO option. That means no opportunity. And you'll have opportunity as you move forward to meet each one of these program objectives. And at midpoint, you're not going to meet them all. If you do, that's great. If you don't, just take note of the ones that you haven't met and then look for ways to meet those in the remaining weeks of the semester. So again, you're going to go through each one of the program objectives. You're going to pick which of these Likert ratings you believe best describes what you've done so far to meet that objective. And you're going to provide an exemplar or 2 or 3, how many you can come up with. 1 is sufficient, about the way that you have specifically met each of these objectives. As you scroll down to the bottom of the evaluation form, there's going to be a couple of text boxes where I ask you to think about your strengths, what you're doing well, and what things you want to focus on and work on in the remaining weeks. And some of those things you want to work on may be related to some of the objectives that you haven't met. So then once you submit that, I will go in and I will complete the same form about each one of you. I will send that form to you. You either meet the requirements or you don't meet the requirements. There's no grade associated with this. And once I send your midterm eval back to you, you'll be able to see my comments, and then we'll arrange to talk about your midterm evaluation by phone again. So that's how that's going to work. And if you have any questions, any technical difficulties, please just let me know. Shoot me an email or give me a call. I've also, for those of you that like to write out your evaluations before you go into TaskStream to input your data, I provided a Word document of this same form that's posted to Beacon Learning. And so you can take a look at that and begin to think of some examples, maybe pencil them in if that's your learning style and something that you like to do. Okay, that's all I have for you. Keep up your good work. Projects are moving forward. Some of you are getting ready to implement your projects and be out in the community delivering your teaching or whatever it is that you're doing. That's great. You're right where you should be. Others of you are still looking at the literature, working with your project, and finalizing it, and that's just fine too. There's plenty of time in the term left to move forward with whatever you need to do. Okay, that's all I have for you now. If anything comes up, don't hesitate to email or call. I'm available to assist you in any way I can. Thank you.